up to my right is Dinorwic Quarry. It was in operation from about 1770 through to 1969. It was the second largest slate quarry in the world at one point, second only to the Padarn Quarry, which is a couple of miles in that direction. The Welsh slate industry, which is centred around Snowdonia, was said to have roofed the world. They supplied slate roof tiles all over the globe. Now, as you can imagine, it's a bit difficult to get from halfway up a mountain to somewhere else in the world, but surprisingly, in the distance, you may not be able to see it, is the sea. So how did they get the slate from there down to the ships? Well, initially it was on wagons. They had a 2-foot gauge wagon. However, obviously as it became a huge enterprise, a railway was created. Now that railway was called the Padarn Railway. It ran from the bottom of the hill near Lake Padarn all the way through to a specially created port just by Vellinhelly, the village of Vellinhelly, and it's called, surprisingly enough, Port Dinorwic. What I'm going to try and do is find from back there the railway all the way back and trace it back as best I can. I believe some of it is still traceable, some of it you can still see, so we'll go and have a look. Now I just need to refer to my phone because I've got a couple of notes on here which are quite useful for me to remember. I'm a bit thick, as you know. The railway itself was a 4-foot gauge, so what happened was they used to put the 2-foot gauge wagons on board the railway. They then, quite innovatively, at the other end, took them off. The railway was 4 foot, not the usual size. It's important to remember that, and it goes about 7 miles, which is 11 kilometres. So let's go and see what we can do. It was in operation from 1843 through to 1961. So let's go and have a look. So here we are at Port Dinorwic, just close to Vellinhelly. As you can see, it's a very busy place these days with a lot of leisure craft. But imagine what this would have been like in the height of the Industrial Revolution. Well, going back to the railway, approximately in this location, going up that hill, was the incline. The incline would have had a 2-foot gauge, so the wagons were taken directly onto the railway back up at Dinorwic Quarry, and then from there they would have gone on the train on the 4-foot gauge until the incline, at the top of the incline, they'd be transferred back down and come down there to here. And this would have been where they'd have been loaded up, and they'll go that way out onto the Menai Straits and off all over the world. Just as an aside, if we look down there, it looks like it gets narrower and narrower. It does get narrower and narrower. That's because that's where the port ends, but we actually have a railway that goes off to Bangor. We're not interested in that one. We're just going to look at the railway going all the way up back to Dinorwic Quarry, and we'll see if we can find it. It's a really picturesque spot. As you can see, it's very busy, so let's go and see what we can trace. So we can see some stone walling there. And it comes up. And what it appears to be levelling here and going up there. So up there would have been the incline. It's pretty steep. We're just about to come from what looked like a little driveway. There's actually a road. We're going to be heading up here. Okay, let's go see if we can find the top of the incline. Because it's obviously not going to be visible here. Okay, so I've stopped here for a reason. I'm just going to take us back to this bump in the road. Because this looks like it might well be what I'm looking for. Here we go. Ahead you can see what looks like the original track. So it went up the incline and then it follows here and it comes all the way down there. And if I come this side, there we go. The unmistakable sign of some sort of railway that's disused. So the track obviously goes that way. So that's the right direction for Dinorwic, more or less. Right, let's see if we can pick it up somewhere else. There's a clue. End of track. So it does appear to have been the end of the railway and the start of the incline down there. I think we're on the right lines, if you'll pardon the pun. If you look carefully, you can just about see the old gates just in there. I don't know if you can see it. And there looks to be maybe the level crossing office. I don't know. Could be, couldn't it? So it's going that way. And there's the old track bed going there. And as we come along here, we'll see in a minute the original slate fencing that would have been there for the railway. So there's the telltale 2 rows of trees. There we go. Look at that. Whoops. As I nearly fall over. There we go. The telltale short gap. Isn't it amazing how this part of our heritage is still able to be found? There's the famous local slate fencing. You don't see that these days, not in very many places. And there's the old track bed in between us and there. So the old track will follow along ahead of us, and then it'll veer off. I think at that bend it veers off to the left, and we'll next see if we can pick it up in Bethel.